Okay, so tell me about Phillip and tell me what you were like before you met your now ex-boyfriend.
I'm originally from North Carolina. I grew up born in Raleigh, grew up in Greensboro. I was a pretty active kid. I was a swimmer year-round from the time I could kick in the water until I was, 17 in high school. My sister is 5 years older than me, and she was my best friend. My mom and dad were separated when I was younger, around like 13, 14, and my mom eventually, I didn't know it. I came out of the closet when I turned 17, and my mom came out after me, so my mom's gay too. And I'd never really known what her friend, which is now I consider my mother, what she was for me, and now she's always been that for me, and that's amazing. I was a pretty hyper kid, but I was reserved. I hung out with all the older people. My sister being, older than me, her friends were my friends. Given that I was in a year-round swim team, I stuck to a really strict schedule throughout, that and school. And the summer was more free for me. So after school, hanging out with friends wasn't really number one priority until I got older. So, I was pretty right to the schedule, pretty athletic.
Your bio says that you're a trained model and dancer. Can you tell me a little about that?
Yep. In middle school, right around 6th grade, I started taking ballet at school, and from there I started taking morning classes for swim class, and after school I did jazz and Latin for North Carolina Dance Academy. Basically, where you pay to take your child to dance and learn how to dance and compete in competitions, and it was amazing. I really loved it. And that continued on till about high school, right around the time when I was 17, I came out of the closet. I was really getting into my own step. I was figuring out who I was as a person. Like I said, I hung out with the older kids, so I would skip school and go to clubs with them. I was friends with the people that worked at the club, and I just kind of grew up a little bit faster than I should have, and I kind of stopped all of that whole routine, the whole schedule. And my mom, God bless her, she's had a lot of physical problems, and throughout the past 15 years, and so I kind of went under the radar, so to say, with it going unnoticed. And with that, I met my first boyfriend. Actually, we had already known each other. My best friend in the world. I was always friends with the girls in school. My best friend, Angela, I call her Aggie. And one of my really good friends, Natalie, who was the head cheerleader for the actual high school that I was supposed to be attending, but I was a transfer student. And their boyfriends, Jason and Shane, were basically, we were a group. It was a group of friends, and there were a lot more of us. But I had known Shane since I was 12 years old, but never really hung out. I always hung out with the girls. And Shane became my very first boyfriend. I found out he was gay, and I surrounded myself in the company where he was, and it just kind of blossomed from there. And we ended up staying together for 3 years, and we're still friends to this day. I still talk to him. When all this stuff happened with me, he calls me up and he's just like, oh my God, la 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 la. And I love him to death. Absolutely adore him. He's been there my whole life, and I had the pleasure of being with him for 3 years and learning how to love and becoming who I am. And with that said, being 17 and coming out of the closet and venturing out from the world, I didn't graduate high school with a diploma. I graduated high school with a certificate of attendance because my attendance was so low, which is pretty bad. But I graduated. My attendance was really bad.
Has this been, I know that this has probably been your worst relationship, but have you had other bad relationships?
No. I've had 3 prior relationships before this recent one. This was his second relationship. I was only the second boyfriend. He was my 4th boyfriend I've ever had. Shane was my first. From the time I turned 17 until I was about 19 and a half. After Shane, we were young. We wanted to explore. There was all these things that we tapped into, and with every first relationship, especially for the gay community, it really, it's a very slim pick that lasts. But like I said, we're still friends today, and we left each other with open arms, and we've been just as tight, almost blood, since. My second relationship I ever had was right after Shane. It never really got serious for a while. It almost took about 6 to 8 months. His name's Dustin, and I still talk to him to this day. I was just talking to him yesterday. We dated hardcore, and we never officially called ourselves boyfriends, but we dated, and it was intense and very intimate, and there was something that kept pulling us away, something that didn't click to where we fit in harmony to be able to stay together. So instead, it turned into this. He's very dear to me, and he's always been very dear to me since the day I met him. And he owns a hair salon down in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's the #1 hair salon there. He's fantastic. He does makeup for celebrities. He is an amazing stylist. And he got me into a job working for MAC Cosmetics, actually. I used to work behind the counter at MAC Cosmetics in Charlotte, North Carolina. And did a lot of modeling and fashion shows and fundraisers and all kinds of stuff with MAC Cosmetics for a long time. And I eventually kind of took another direction. I decided to travel. I went to Raleigh, which is where I was born but had never lived. And I went to Raleigh and stayed about a couple of weeks with my aunt just to visit family. And then I moved to California. I moved to Long Beach for 6 months, and I was crazy. I was so not ready for it, and it was so unexpected. And I thought I was going to go and work for Mac and do this whole thing, but I was just not ready for what I had walked into. And I ended up, really kind of jumping back and went back to North Carolina, leaving home early age and not having a lot of guidance. I mean, just free spirit, I wasn't, by the book. It was very, I taught myself. I learned from others. My friends and my inspirations are pieces of me now. I have a piece of them in me every day, and I cherish that. After 6 months of living in California, I came back to North Carolina, lived in Raleigh for about 2 years, and was single. Didn't date anybody for 2 years. I just hung out with friends and worked. I worked for Levi Strauss, which is, of course, everyone knows Levi. I was the assistant manager for that store, and I did floor sets, designed floor sets and merchandising for them. and for headquarters, and it was really exciting and fun, and I really loved that job. However, I just went on to something else eventually, and I ended up going back to Charlotte, North Carolina. And I know that this is a lot, but this leads up to my next relationship, which was kind of instant, almost immediate when I moved back to Charlotte. And that's when I started taking up dance again as well. His name was Antonio, and he was from Granada, Spain, and he was a third grade teacher at a bilingual school academy here, elementary school in Charlotte, North Carolina. 2.5 years. It's more interesting, the fact with him, as he was unlike anything I'd ever seen or laid eyes on, as far as, he's foreign, and his, Spanish, and it was just gorgeous and captivating, and I learned so much from him, and just how I carried myself, and some values, and my spirit and love for things. Lula? We didn't even have sex until 7 months into the relationship. We had oral sex. We were very intimate. We were very close. We had oral sex, both mutual, but we had not had intercourse until 7 months of dating. And it was right when we decided to move in together after 7 months that we decided to have intercourse, which is kind of crazy. You think, there's a part of me now that admires that, and that was so, nothing like that I probably will ever experience again in my life, but I did that with him, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And I say that only because that's something I think to myself, like, that's something I need to know right away. Is the sex going to be good? Is it going to be great? Is it going to be bad? Like, I don't... And with him, I didn't care. We taught each other. His English, he would always say, has improved so much from me, and I'm like, huh? But he taught me Spanish too, and he taught me a lot of things that I hadn't known, and he showed me the world. Eventually, after living together for about 1.5 years, his visa expired, and he had to go back to Spain, and he moved back to Granada. And 2 months later, I ended up working and saved every penny I could, and I sold my car and had a really good hunk of money that I took and moved to Spain to be with him. And I have stamps galore on my passport. I moved to Granada, lived there with him in a flat with 2 other girls, one Isabel and Mari. They were all teachers, and I got a part-time job teaching English at a private English academy solely because I spoke English, and they wanted me to speak nothing but English to these little kids. And it was so much fun, and I actually have some of them are friends of mine on my Facebook, believe it or not.